You've got quorum, I guess. Can I verify quorum? Are we okay?
Yes, sir. If you wouldn't mind verifying quorum for the record.
All right, Forrest Runnels,
I'm here.
Rick Pettis,
I'm here.
Alonso Cantu, Paul Moxley,
Here.
Frank Pardo,
Here.
and Zeke Reyna.
Here.
Okay, we've established quorum. Let's go ahead and go to the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Maria, I'll give the invocation here.
Dear God, as we begin this meeting, we ask that you guide our thoughts and actions. Help us to accomplish our goals while displaying our character. We pray these things in your mighty name. Amen.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go to the workshop on the review of financing letter and construction schedule for the 365 tollway.
Yes, Chairman and Directors, in your packet, you have a schedule, a two-page schedule. Those of you that have a video conference, Eric is bringing it up. The first page, it reads existing 365 tollway development schedule based on February 2020 meeting with TxDOT. So that was the schedule that we had in place in February of this year. If you flip to the second page, the backside, you have, it says proposed working 365 tollway development schedule based on a June 8th, 2020 conference call. And that was with our TxDOT, our financial advisor, our bond counsel, basically the entire team that is responsible for delivering the 365 tollway project. And so this schedule, the long and short of it is that we've been able to accelerate the schedule by approximately 2 months from the February 2020 schedule based on this schedule. Of course, there's a couple of milestones that need to happen, and it's shown as September 20th or September 2020, and that is the adoption of the 2021 UTP by the Texas Transportation Commission. And so that is a key milestone that needs to happen for us to stay on track. Or you want to close these windows so they can see this? Yeah. We're gonna shut some windows here so you can see everything. And so one of the key items is the adoption of the 2021 UTP by the Texas Transportation Commission. If that happens in September, as per this schedule, then all of the rest of the schedule falls into place. And long and short of it is we're looking to hope to get our release to advertise in late January, early February of 2021, and have the 365 project back on the street, out to bids, with 60 days. That's a lesson learned from the last bid we had. The last time go around, we advertised for 45 days, and a lot of the contractors told us because of the scope and the magnitude of this project, they needed 60 days to bid it, so that they could sharpen their pencil, so to speak. And then after that, you can see we have the bid opening in April. We received TxDOT concurrence in May, and then we would go to the rating agencies in May, and we'd have the bond sale in May of 2021, and then we would basically schedule a pre-construction meeting and hopefully start construction by July, and then it's a 42-month construction schedule, and it's scheduled with a January 2025 opening. And so the difference between the two is about 2 months acceleration that we were able to accelerate the project. And staff realizes that in the grand scheme of things that's not a whole lot of time gained, but based on direction given from TxDOT, and which is the most critical path is the adoption of the UTP. Without the adoption of the UTP and the gap funding and the amount of $27 million being secured prior to being able to go to lead, we put that funding in jeopardy. And so we're happy to entertain any questions that the board may have on this schedule.
Well, actually, that was a little bit better clarity as far as us going to TxDOT and asking them to try to rush the project, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's correct. And so, you know, we've started working with TxDOT chairman. We're preparing all the front end documents that need to be executed. And so we've started working on those already. And so we'll have a lot of that done here in probably the next 30 days. And so that'll allow the staff to exchange comments with TxDOT and all the divisions that need to review it within that organization, and we'll get all that buttoned away before the UTP adoption.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Only question I have is, in view of what has happened and transpired throughout our country, Pilar, in the last 3 or 4 months, do you think the overall scheme and procedure for this project can still be honored and going along the same restrictions and limitations, even though, you know, everything has, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen for the next year or so? You still feel comfortable with this whole process?
Yes, sir. We do. I mean, we feel comfortable with the information we have right now. We know that we recognize that there's some uncertainty, but you know, we're letting this project basically about 8 to 9 months from now, and we're hoping that we'll be out of the current situation and there'll be a little more stability in the markets, in the material world, all the things that affect the project. And we're hoping that we'll be past that and in recovery, so to speak. So we'll have a better handle on things. You know, we think that as a matter of fact, we have a conference call on the 26th, Eric, is that correct? With CNM to look at all of those factors that affect the project, especially from the economic standpoint, movement of goods and services, movement of people, all the external factors that are going to affect the project. And we'd be more than happy to send an invitation to the board to listen to that presentation. Because I got a sneak peek of it today, and it's very interesting that all the factors that we're going to be looking at that affect the project.
Okay.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, can I go ahead and call for an adjournment of the workshop?
Move.
And a motion, gonna get a second?
Second.
I'm gonna second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Do we have any public comments?
No, sir, we do not have any public comments at this time.
Okay, let's go ahead and go to reports.
Okay, Chairman Directors, first item on your agenda is item 1A, reports on program manager activity for the 365 Tollway project and the IPC environmental clearance document. Eric Davila is going to give you a brief update.
Good afternoon or good evening. On your screen, if you're viewing through Teams or a web browser, you should see a slideshow presentation. Otherwise, it'll be under the regular agenda tab 1A. We've heard a lot about the road to this 2021 UTP, which we have. We finally got an invitation late last week for TxDOT's first round of public outreach on the issue. We do have not just the 365 Tollway project gap funding, which we've had a lot of heavy coordination on, but we also have long-range requests for the IDTC, which may not be as urgent for the 2021 UTP, since what we're doing at the RTV MPO right now is programming the monies we do have available, which is primarily local cash, you know, from revenues from overweight permits and, you know, BRF registrations after debt is paid off and, you know, salaries and expenses paid out. but we also have VRF matching funds, which are programs for the project. We just went through a publishing of the latest local plan, which allows us to continue to work on the IBTC and move that project forward. So unless there's any specific questions on the 365, I'll move on to the IBTC. So moving on to the IBTC, we continue to move forward with the environmental clearance. We actually have the noise report, final report being submitted. We had a authorization to authorize that additional scope of work for some revisions that had to be due. And then we also had a draft version of the archaeological mitigation plan that is about to be submitted, if not late this month, by early July. So we don't anticipate any other, for instance, any other delays on getting ramped up on environmental delays here. In this case, were about negotiating the archaeological mitigation plan, which, as I mentioned just now, we're fixing to submit that to TechSite and work through, getting their comments and revising that as quickly as possible so we can wrap it up. Any particular questions on the IBTC at this time?
No.
Hearing that, I'm going to move very quickly to overweight permits. One thing that we are tracking, since we're still in the middle of COVID, is that we had provided an update previously that showed about a 33% drop in April's numbers from overweight permits. The 2,110 permits versus the previous years for April, 33,150 permits. Good news is for May, we've rebounded and exceeded last year's numbers. Last year was 3,292 permits versus this, 2020 May at 3,750. We'll continue to monitor that situation. As y'all would imagine, we still have food stores, we still have the essentials that need to get through the border, even though the cross-border on the private occupancy vehicles may be limited at this time to, U.S. bound trips that go into Mexico and back. Trips originating from Mexico for Mexican nationals at this point, just for tourism, they continue to extend the COVID restrictions on that travel. So we're, like a lot of municipalities, seeing a shortfall in other areas. But in terms of overweight permits, we haven't seen any yet since April. Any questions on that?
No questions.
Okay, well, thank you all.
Chairman, Director, just one other comment on permits. This time of year, we typically issue about 800 permits per week. And right now we're averaging close to 1,000 permits per week. So we've seen, like Eric mentioned, we've seen a big rebound in the permits we've been issuing on a weekly basis.
Do you feel that's due to the fact that we were closed for COVID for a period of time?
Yes, sir. We think part of that is catch up. And then we think part of that is that I think the supply chain is trying to get ahead of the next wave of the pandemic and push a lot of the goods out ahead of that, trying to keep things supplied.
Okay. Go to the consent agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is item 2 is the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the governing body and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, if discussion is desired, that item or items will be removed from the consent agenda and be considered separately.
Can I get a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion on Alonso, second by Zeke. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 3, regular agenda, resolution 2020-14.
Yes, sir. This is approval of a petition requesting annexation by area landowners to extend the existing city limits to be included as part of the city of Pharr for 215,168 square foot tract of land out of lot 80, block 26, and lot 71, block 23, re-subdivision of San Juan Plantation subdivision, Hidalgo County, Texas. This is basically right of way that the authority owns. It's contiguous with tracts of land that the city of Pharr is requesting voluntary annexation. into the city of Pharr. This is along the US 281 Military Highway and San Juan Road intersection, and that's right away that we own in there for the 365 tollway project. Staff is recommending approval as there is no really impact to the authority. Right now, we're in the county and we're exempt from taxation, and inside the city of Pharr, we would still be tax exempt, so staff recommends approval.
And that's that track, right? 7, I guess the one with the yellow dots around it?
That's correct, yes. It's just north of the intersection of Military and San Juan Road, and it actually, I believe, the closest crossroad would be Highline.
Okay. If there's no questions, can I get a motion for approval of resolution 2020-14?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2020-17.
Yes, sir. Approval of the financial underwriting pool from which financial underwriter syndicate will be selected and approved by the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority for various financing for the period commencing September 1st, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2020. Chairman, directors, this is, we solicited requests for proposals for underwriting services, and we received 21 responses. The staff, which included our financial advisor, have evaluated all these proposals, determined that they met the criteria and they had the ability to underwrite projects of the magnitude of the 365 project. So at this point, all we're recommending to the board is they establish the pool, and we're recommending all 21 firms that submitted proposals be part of that pool. There'll be an action item in the future where we'll ask you to select a syndicate, which will be a combination of some of these firms at various percentages to underwrite the project in the future. But at this point, staff is recommending approval of the pool as presented.
So moved.
Just
Have a
one question.
motion.
Are these companies local, are they national, or the combination of both?
They're primarily in the state of Texas and national. I do not believe there's any that are local. They may have a local presence, a local branch, but they're not headquartered in the area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, got a motion by Alonso, second by Zeke. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We had previously discussed item number 5, the tabled item. Do we want to go into executive session to discuss this, or can we discuss it in open session?
Chairman, that's your pleasure. We want to discuss in executive session. We do have Blakely Fernandez on the line, so we can do that. We'll have to dial into a separate dial-in number so that we can go. It's included in your packet. There is that shows an executive session teleconference, and we'll need to dial into that number separately. You will need to, if you do it from your desk where you're currently at, you'll need to mute and shut off your video because executive session is privileged.
Is there anything else that we need to discuss in executive session, Pilar?
At this point, I do not have anything to discuss with you in executive session. We did provide the additional information in your packet that the board had requested at the last meeting.
So I take a motion to go into executive session. I got a motion by Paul. Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye. All same sign.
Aye.
I'm going to executive session. Let me go ahead and call the meeting from executive session back into order. Can I get a motion?
Moxley, so moved.
Got a motion by Mox. Got a second by Zeke. All in favor say aye. All same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so we have a couple of questions for our security advisor. Is he on the line?
Yeah. Richard Ramirez, are you on the line? The board has a couple questions for you on item 5A.
Richard, are you on?
I think, yeah, we're checking right now. It looks like he's on, Chairman. Let me see if we can. Is that his number?
No, it's not. I was checking this 512.
We're checking the numbers that are shown logged in, Chairman, to make sure he's on the line. That's,
The numbers I have for him are 512.
yeah, he's just here.
I'm texting him,
Chairman, it doesn't appear that he's logged in, or maybe he dropped out. We're trying to contact him right now to see if we can get him to dial back in.
Well, if not, we can have a meeting at a later date
Yes, sir.
and we can schedule that.
Yes, sir. We can have a special call meeting at the board's pleasure.
Just wait for 5 minutes. We can get him on the line.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've got the staff calling him directly right now.
David,
Yes, sir.
moving.
Quit moving.
Yes, you're all over the place.
Sorry.
I can only see your hair. You're so close.
That's what happens when you have to do it on an iPad.
Why don't you get a desktop?
I have one, but I
You
couldn't
might
get
want
it
to
to
use
work.
it. You know, you got like 3 or 4, no?
Well, one that works.
Yeah. Okay, Chairman, Chairman Directors, we're unable to contact Richard, so we've tried calling him and he doesn't answer, so we're not sure what happened.
Okay, if I could get a motion to give Forrest and myself and Pilar a authority to move forward and just have some special discussions with Richard regarding the refunding agreement. I take a motion or entertain a motion for that.
Chairman, for clarification, that would be for item 5A.
Item 5A, yes, sir.
You know, Mr. Chair, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we have a joint consensus of making sure that we get a better performance or better communications or something more definite to just basically to enlighten us what's going on.
Yes, sir. I can do that.
With that, Zeke makes a motion.
I have a motion from Zeke. Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a second from Rick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That there be no further business, I'll take a motion to go ahead and, that's it, right, Pilar?
That's correct, Chairman.
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So
Mox
moved.
will move.
So move.
Moxley moves, Zeke seconds. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay, everybody stay safe, guys.
Motion carries.
Dude, thank you.
Wear your
Thank you.
Good luck.
masks.
Thank you, Chairman, Directors.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye, David.
All right, bye-bye. Zeke, I'll see you soon.
Okay.